Hi, I'm Hope. I'm an intuitive, I'm a crystal reader, and I'm an energy healer. And in this video, I'm going to show you a crystal reading that I just did for a client of mine here in my home studio. Okay, so we're going to jump right into this. The first thing I do is have my clients choose 7 crystals out of a box that I have over 100 in, and I have them choose them without looking. So they'll reach into the box, feel the ones that are right, bring them out. Then I have them hold all 7 in their hands together and drop them up over the center of the board and allow them to fall onto the tray that I use in the random pattern that you see here. Now this is an example of one that I just did earlier today. And as you can see, she's got the 7 crystals on the board. The first thing I do is tell you, what crystals have you chosen? She chose nephrite jade, Moldavite, black tourmaline, a smoky quartz point, chrysoprase, aragonite, and morganite. Now notice, I don't know if you can see on the video, I think you can, but there's like a little chip here in the middle of the tray. And one of her crystals, I think it was probably this black tourmaline, chipped and left this little piece here. So I left it there as part of the reading, and we'll go over what that might mean. All right, so I usually start in the past position with the nephrite jade, the moldavite, and the black tourmaline. And what she's got going on here is a situation in the past that was very comfortable for her, and it was disrupted. What I'm seeing here is that things were great, things were fine, but then there was a major disruption or something happened that really kind of changed everything. When Moldavite shows up in a reading, it very much signifies change, upheaval, for better or for worse. It is what it is. So whenever it shows up on the board, it's usually big changes. And then she's got this black tourmaline kind of underneath this, pointing down to this personal area in her reading. And this is talking about this need for grounding, this need for protection. Not surprising if after, something happens that wrecks your world a little bit, then of course you want that grounding and protection. Now above this, we see this smoky quartz point. And in my readings, that means that there's something that happened in the past that was difficult, but this is giving us the option to see it as a positive rather than a negative. The message with that is that, sometimes after time we look and we can see, oh, it's a good thing that difficult thing happened because now my life is different because of it. So there's lots of lessons to be learned there. Now coming over here to the top across from this, in a little bit of a future position, this chrysoprase is talking about walking through a challenge. It's talking about where do you need courage? Where do you need some gumption to get through something that's very difficult for you? Now, keep in mind that the reason you might use a crystal, wear a crystal, hold a crystal, work with a crystal could be different than how I interpret them in these readings. Each one of these stones I have worked with individually, and I know its personality, and I know what it intends to mean in a reading. So it's very personal to these specific crystals. So you may say, well, I have a chrysoprase and I read the book and it says something different, and that's totally okay. Or you hold it and you feel something different. That's totally okay, because every crystal has its own personality. So in a reading, I know that this exact crystal means this, but when you work with it, it might mean something else. So don't worry about, exactly what it means or what I say it means in a reading. And of course, I'm reading where it is on the board and what it's next to derive that meaning. So it's always going to be different. Every reading is going to be unique. Okay, so this little chip that fell down here in the center of the board, this was her now moment, and it had very much to do with her life just feeling kind of fragmented. So that totally made sense. So this is her walking through a challenging situation or using her courage and gumption to get through something that's really maybe not so fun. Now below this, we have this aragonite. Now notice that it's right across from these guys here, especially this moldavite. And this is talking about, it's in a future position, but it's talking about making decisions from love rather than fear. So oftentimes when I see this in a reading, there's fear somewhere, right? And then below this, we have morganite. Morganite is a stone of the heart chakra. And ironically, it's a stone about making decisions from love rather than fear. So it's nice to see these paired together because it's well, there's fear here, but there's also love here. And notice the fear comes across from this major change that I said she had. And the love comes in directly across from the grounding. So I thought that was really unique that it did that. So that's pretty cool. All right, so now I'm going to bring in her next layer. This is just the base layer, right? That we get an idea of, okay, this is what we're talking about. This is what this reading is all about. You know, what's going on here. And of course, as I'm delivering this, she's like, you know, she's nodding. She's like not giving away a lot of information that would lead me to know exactly what she's going through, but she's nodding like, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. So now I'm going to bring in this second layer. I asked her to draw 3 more crystals and drop them on the board with these. Okay, here we are with the second phase of her reading. Now you can see that she's got some extra crystals on the board here. She drew blue apatite. This is a smoky quartz twist, similar to this smoky quartz, but a different stone, right? And she drew this rose quartz. Now, the interesting thing is that when the rose quartz landed here, it pushed this argonite out to a future position. So now it's over here, which of course has meaning. So it pushed that fear like a little further out. She brought in this stone of love. Now I have 2 different rose quartz in my reading box. This one is about relationships. The other one is about self-love. So this one's specifically about relationships. Now that can be a relationship with an individual, or it can be a relationship with a romantic partner, but it can also be like family, friends, work relationships, all those kinds of things. But it's definitely relationships. And interestingly, it showed up right across from what was going on here, right? So the upheaval she had in her life was about a relationship, right? So we got the relationship stone here. And now what I can see here, this is so interesting because she's got this blue apatite here. So what I know about this situation that she's going through is that it's a repeat. You know, so many times in our life, we have something come through, something happens to us or in our environment that is an energy of something that's happened to us before. Like, for example, you know, you go through something in your childhood, and then as a young adult, you go through something very similar. And then, you know, at work, you go through something similar. And then with a relationship, you go through something similar. And you're like, why does this keep happening to me? Well, this blue apatite, when it shows up in readings with me, it's talking about this timeline of this is happening again, this is happening again, comes up again so that we can work through that energy. Obviously, we're carrying that in our energetic field. We're drawing it as a match, right? Law of attraction. So we're drawing it as a match. So it shows up again that says, hey, would you like to deal with this time? Hey, would you like to walk through this energy? Hey, how can we release this? So this has come up for like a life pattern for her, or a repeating energy for her. So it was very, very interesting. And again, with this relationship. Now it pushed this down, which actually I kind of like seeing that, because now it's like we've got this love stone here, we've got a love stone here. So now we're saying like, okay, instead of fear, what happens if we bring love in here? So it just really swapped it. So that's really nice to see. Now this smoky quartz twist, this is like this lightning bolt comes in, it draws this line in the sand. Like that was then, this is now. I will never go back to that again. I don't have to live through that again because now my energy is different. So very interesting. Then we bring in her third layer and it looks like this. So now she's added this obsidian. She's added another jasper up here. This is a multicolored jasper. It's got the orange and the pink. I like to call it polychrome jasper, but I've heard it also called just yellow jasper. But yeah, it looks like an Easter egg, doesn't it? And then we've got this blue kyanite here. So very interesting. This obsidian hanging over the Moldavite, difficult change of direction in her life, like this, I want to say catastrophic change. And after she spoke to me and told me kind of what it was about, it was a catastrophic change in her life. And then she's got this obsidian hanging up over it. So what that is an opportunity to look at ourselves. Think of like a mirror, right? Obsidian's going to bring out truth, but this one's more about like, what is my truth? What do I know about myself? What am I learning about myself? And this is perfect to bring that energy up into that smoky quartz point, because it allows her to like look at like, what do I know about myself after this happened? And how can I take this and move forward with this energy? Now it takes her directly into this creative energy. This is an opportunity for her to really step into this energy of this change, to embrace it more, to say, okay, where can I get creative with this? What can I learn from this? And how can I apply it to my outside world? How can I use this in my everyday dealing with other people and walking through my life? And again, she did verify that as well, that she's been able to do some of that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you the details of her life. This would make more sense if I could, but this still gives you an idea of what a crystal reading looks like. Now, the last stone she drew was here, and this is this blue kyanite. And this stone is the bridge that tells me she's working more with love than fear, right? Because this allows her to bridge her heart, her mind, making decisions from love without fearing a relationship in the future, without having that fear as she kind of walks through this love situation here in the future. So she's really got this great outlook. So even though she went through a very difficult and traumatic past, again, she did share with me later what had happened, and it was very traumatic. There was loss and change, and there's a lot going on there. And again, she's trying not to look back into that energy. There's that line in the sand, but it did allow her to see life differently. She certainly needed so much courage and so much strength to get through that, and she carries that with her now into her future. And this gives her this opportunity to be a bridge between her heart and her mind as she makes decisions about relationships and about her life moving forward. So it really was a very, very interesting reading, and I hope that gives you just a little idea of what it looks like to get a crystal reading. Now I'm going to show you the crystals I used for her healing session after her reading. It's not unusual that I bring in this gorgeous black tourmaline. I usually put this down between my client's feet or ankles just to ground their energy as I'm doing my healing work. She had black tourmaline in her reading. So I also pulled in this piece, and I had her hold this in her right hand. I had her hold the rose quartz in her left hand. So she was receiving in this beautiful rose quartz energy that she also had in her reading, and then grounding with the black tourmaline. I used this fluorite heart on her kind of diaphragm area, upper stomach, kind of lower chest, to bring in self-love, self-healing, and a sense of protection and a sense of safety. I brought in this beautiful blue apatite. She did have this in her reading, and I brought this in to help her work through that difficult timeline that she was going through. And then, of course, my clear quartz balancing and healing wand that I use to balance and clear the chakras at the end of the session. To schedule your own crystal reading, go to hopehughes.com. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you soon.